Alrighty, Alrighty, YouTube, it's your girl Pimp, and I'm back with another video. Today I got my girl Keisha from high school.
I
You
know.
know, yes.
Feels like it wasn't that long ago, but when you start counting, you're like, oh, that
Oh
was a
my
minute ago.
God. I was like, damn, I graduated in '02. I said, Lord Jesus, take the wheel.
hmm hmm
Take the wheel. So how have you been? What's been going on?
I've been good, girl. Just trying to, I always say just trying to create a lane for myself. But I've
Absolutely.
been good. Life happens. You get married, have kids, and you start working these jobs. And then at some
Mm-hmm.
point, you're like, is this really like what I want my legacy to be? Is this what I want to do? So I've been
Mm-hmm.
just, I think, doing soul searching along the way. And
Yes. Yes.
yeah, just trying to figure out what's my lane? What do I want to leave behind? What do I want people to remember me for? That kind of thing.
Okay, that's awesome sauce.
Mm.
Oh, so married and kids. How long you been married?
12 years.
12 years? Oh my
hmm
God. See, that's what
I
I'm
know.
saying. We don't even look like it's been 12 nothing.
I know.
Like,
Exactly. That's
oh
why I'm
my
like,
God.
yeah, my son just turned 13 this
Get that?
past week. And I was like, what in the world? Like, that's
You
such
got
a
a 13 year
milestone.
old?
13-year-old and a
Oh my
and a
God.
6-year old.
Oh my God. Oh, damn, you got a gap.
Yeah. It was like, are we gonna really do this again? Yeah, it was one of those. So yes, a
Oh
gap.
my God. Oh my God. So now, are they into sports like you were in high school?
Yeah, my son plays basketball. He did the
Okay.
football thing, but after a year, after one season, he was like, mm-mm. And I was glad because I was not trying to sit out in the snow, in those stands, in the cold. He did flag football a couple seasons, and then he did tackle football. And
Okay.
then my daughter, she's into like dancing, singing, more like theatrical type stuff. She did a little bit of ballet. So yeah, I'm sure they're gonna be into sports and activities. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
for
keep them
sure.
busy, girl. Keep them busy.
hmm
So tell me about Chop Chop Mobile. Now, I remember a couple years back when you was throwing out the idea on Facebook, but like, what was your thoughts? Where were you at when you came with this idea? Like, what was the
hmm
motivation? Like,
Yeah, it's funny because I get those like Facebook updates, that
mm-hmm.
tell you about things that you did in the past, and sometimes I'll see stuff like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like this actually came to fruition. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, I was just throwing it out there on Facebook like 5, 6 years ago because I was working in corporate America and I would see people leave on their lunch break and just try to get their nails done real quick or get a
Mm-hmm.
haircut very
Yes.
quickly because a lot of the professionals either had like children at home or they were just really busy, had big busy social lives, and they're trying to
Mm.
get these things done. And so I
Yes.
was like, why don't we have like I saw mobile oil change services that would come to the company or food
Mm-hmm.
trucks that would come
Mm-hmm.
to the campuses. And I'm like, well, why don't we do this with like hair care?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the idea came from. And then partly it was just, like I said, that soul searching and trying to see where you know, how you wanted to leave a legacy, or just, help certain causes. So I
Yeah.
actually I was on maternity leave in 2014 with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right around the time when Mike Brown got shot and killed by the police.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember being on Facebook and seeing like all these people leaving comments, good and bad, on both sides. And just like, I'm like, we still going through this
We
today.
still,
This is
yes.
crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, how can I like do something about it? And for me, it's like it starts with one person. Like, we can't expect to go out and just make this huge change and change the world.
Right.
It's
Right.
one person at a time. So I was like, well, how can I use like my interest in hair and beauty and like, trying to get people together to realize we're more alike than different. And
Right.
that's how the mobile thing came about, because I was like, well, if I have this truck that goes around to these different,
Mm-hmm.
companies, and people get on, who knows who's going to get on that truck? It could be a
Yes.
white man, a white woman, a Hispanic man, an Asian
Yes.
guy, who knows? But it gives us a chance to all learn from each other authentically, you know, and have conversations authentically, and get to know one each other authentically, so that we don't have so many of those bias. Like, you can eliminate those bias that by having like authentic conversations.
Yes.
And and you know, barbershops and salons, they cultivate that anyway, those
All the
conversations,
time.
right? We always talking about our family and situations and problems and issues. So I just felt like that was a really great platform to use to do that. So that's how that came about.
Oh, that is awesome. Now, was the process hard to get started? You know, like
Yes, girl.
I can tell by your face.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what
Because,
paperwork you had to go through?
oh yeah, you know, a lot of it was just because when you haven't seen it done, number one, like I had never seen a mobile salon from my, you know, with my eyes, with my own eyes.
Right.
When I first Googled it, I found one in like San Diego, California. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like what I had visioned. It was, but they had an Airstream trailer, and then they had like 3 stations inside. And I was like, this is exactly what I had envisioned, but I never saw it happening in the Midwest. I never saw any like person of color do it. You know, it was very, very, very new. So that was a number one. It was just like, where do I start with something like this? So I personally, you know, because just when I went to school, I studied entrepreneurship and marketing. So I was big on like you know, doing a business plan, doing research, like understanding, is it doing like a feasibility analysis, like how feasible is it to really get this thing done? And so I did spend, especially, and I was working full time and had, you know, everything else going on. So I took the time to write a business plan. And so that's what made it a little bit easier afterwards, is because I had a plan written out that I basically just needed to follow once I was ready and made the decision to actually launch. So yeah, it was hard, but I did take the time. I took like, my business plan, girl, was like 70 pages. Like I took the time, did the research. It took me like almost a year to do the research, you know? So, and that's why I was putting things out on Facebook to like poll people. Would you be interested in this? Is this something that you would do? You know, so I took the time to really do the research, which helped a lot.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell the kids I work with. You have to do the research, you know, and even sometimes I'm guilty of it, like write it down. Because I feel like when you write it down, it's like you are bound to doing that. You know, did you do this step? Did you do this goal? The checklist, you know, so it's so important to write it down and definitely do your research. Just not, a lot of businesses fail because I feel like they don't do enough research. They don't do enough studies, you know, things of that nature to see, okay, like you said, is this going to really work out? Is people really going to be interested? So I think them polls really do help a lot, you know, to get that feedback, especially from the community that you're about to serve.
Yes. You know, and especially like you said, when you write it down, you have something to go back to as well, because there's going to be, it don't matter how much research you do, you still can't account for things you know nothing about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you do the research, you do run into different considerations. Like, okay, if I don't get the resource, if I don't get the money to fund it by going to the bank and getting a business loan, what are some other ways that I can fund a business? So then you realize you can do pitch competitions. You realize you can look for investors. You learn the difference between what's an angel investor and what's an institutional investor. You know, all these different things you learn because you are writing it down, you're looking at it, you're researching, and then all these different considerations pop up and you're like, oh, I never thought about that. Like one thing that's huge, I get a lot of people that ask me about starting a mobile salon business, a lot, mobile barbershop, all that stuff. The first thing I ask them is like, what are the regulations for your city? Would your city even allow mobile businesses? Because there are a lot of cities that don't even have licenses to give to people that want to have a mobile business.
Never thought about that, yes.
But you'll have people that jump in and buy a truck and don't have anywhere to put that truck and post that truck up. And I'm like, that's because you have to back it up, start from the beginning. And there are certain things that you want to make sure are in place before you jump in and get started and start spending a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, man, I hate wasting money, so
Yeah.
absolutely. Now,
Hmm.
who is your like, biggest supporter, or biggest supporters? Because you can't have multiple, that really
Yeah.
say, you know what, you can do this, girl. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
It's funny because that comes in a lot of different places that you probably wouldn't expect. Like, I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, and this is another thing about business, like, I think a lot of people start and think, like, oh, my Facebook friends are going to support me. They're going to buy
Mm.
from me, my family, my
Yep.
friends.
Yep.
And what you realize is that that's all like conditional. Like,
Mm.
oh, if it's within this price point, people will
Mm-hmm.
support me and buy from me. Or,
Man.
if it's this type of product, or if it looks a certain way, or if it, you know, it's conditional
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes. I
If I
understand.
if you believe in that person, or if you've seen that person follow through in the past on other projects, right? That may be why people support you. But what I've actually found is it's been more of like, like strangers on social media. Like,
Mm.
there's
Yep. Mm-hmm.
this one lady who has just been supportive out the gates, and she's always sends me articles. She's always like sends me pitch competitions. She always sends me
Mm-hmm.
like different stuff, and I'm like, I never even met you in real life, but
Right.
you like have
Right.
been on it. But then to this day, like, she's come to events, and I've, she's helped me with different events. It's crazy, like, but you
That's
do
dope.
definitely, I definitely have friends, especially from Evanston, that have been very supportive. My
Mm-hmm.
husband's supportive, my parents, although they're definitely supportive, but they've seen me have these like huge dreams all the time. Like, I'm always coming to them like, Mom, Dad, guess what? Like, I'm thinking about doing this. And they're just like, you just do too much. You just be doing too much. But they always, support me, my family and stuff. I definitely have a great support system. But it is funny how people that don't know you that well can believe in you sometimes more than you believe in yourself.
And as I get older, that is so true. That
Mm-hmm.
is so true. And it's crazy, but that's life. And like once again, I tell my kids, sometimes people are there for a season.
Mm-hmm.
They're not
That's
there
it.
for the rest of your life. And that's cool. You ain't gotta
Yeah.
have no hard feelings or nothing like that. That's just cool.
Right.
So with being a mom and a wife and a CEO, how do you manage all that? You know.
Um, I always tell people I just try not to think about it in that way, because if I
Mm-hmm.
do think about all the stuff that I'm doing, then I start to get overwhelmed. And so I'm just one of them people that do. I'm just a doer. Like, I
Okay.
try not to harp on things too long, or think, is it possible, and like dwell on it. I just do it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, you just I one thing I believe is, like, if you want to, you will find a way. So what I hear a lot of times is, I even
Mm-hmm.
hear from like friends that are single, have no children, not in a relationship, they work a job, but they'll say, I don't have time. Like, how do you even find a time? And I'm like, if I have
Yeah.
time, but my thing is, because I will stay up till 2 a.m. to
Mm-hmm.
get, because I know that that's quiet time for me. That's when
Mm-hmm.
everybody sleep. That's when I can like pound out something. That's when
Mm-hmm.
I have to do it. When I used to work in corporate America, I would use my lunch breaks to make phone calls for Chop Chop. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
every minute of my day is pretty much planned out for,
Mm-hmm.
even working out. Like, I used to say, oh, I don't have time to work out. But I'm like, working out to me helps me deal with the stress that comes with everything. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, girl, you have to find an hour in the morning to work out before you start your day. So like, most of the times I force myself to just get up, work out, and that's the way that I start my day. So I just don't believe that we're ever too busy. I think that we
Okay.
carve out time for things that we feel like are important. And if owning a business is not really important to you, or you don't feel a dire need, or you don't know your why, like, why are you starting this?
Right.
What's the importance? How are you going to impact people? Then, if you don't know that about your business, I feel like you don't have that desire to
Mm-hmm.
carve out that time to make sure you can fit that into your lifestyle.
Yeah, and that makes, man, a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole pandemic, how did that affect you guys? I know that had to
Mm-hmm.
been, well, that was hard because it was
Yeah.
at one point no contact at all.
Mm-hmm.
So how did y'all get over that hump? And then, is it getting better or still the
Mm-hmm.
same?
Yeah, it totally impacted us because, like I said, we used to go to corporations. And so we know now that most employees are working from home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they're not even on campus. And then
Mm-hmm.
we used to do a lot of events. So we did festivals, we did corporate events, we did things like that. All of those were shut down. We were looking at potentially doing Essence Festival and the Cincinnati
Mm-hmm.
Music Festival last year. When
Mm-hmm.
those got canceled, it was like, dang, we had finally like started seeing that traction and getting to the
Yeah.
level where I wanted to get. And then contracts, just all, everything was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely hard at first. And my first instinct was like, okay, shift to a different business, shift to a different model, shift to like, shifts. So I did. I started my own like I focused more on personal branding for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was already writing a book, so I figured let me create a website and start doing some business plan
Mm-hmm.
workshops, training for people that want to become an entrepreneur or need help with like how to pitch to an investor or how to write a business plan, those type of things. So doing more consulting. So
Okay.
I focused on that, but then I realized that, Chop Chop had an opportunity to be more focused toward individuals and not so much
Mm-hmm.
like these companies, because I
Mm-hmm.
kept seeing a lot of people say like, I look crazy, I haven't gotten a haircut in quarantine, and da 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 da. And I
Right.
realized that there was that fear of going to the salon or barbershop, but there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a fear of having an individual come to their home
Right.
to provide services. So
Right.
what I'm currently working on is kind of shifting the model to go to people's homes, and provide services for individuals and their families, and then like potentially working on an app to make that a more seamless,
That would be dope.
experience. Yeah,
That would be so dope. Oh
yeah.
wow.
Because honestly, I don't think we're gonna go back to normal anytime soon. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if I can launch this within the next, few months or so, then it might be an opportunity to, to grow
Yeah.
and scale in a different way.
And be the first one to jump on it too.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. And so with that, what type of services do you offer? Man, when I was watching your video, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's a diverse staff.
Mm-hmm.
Because and you want to attract everyone. So you have to have that
Yes.
person who knows the texture of black hair, Latino hair. Even white people hair can be different, curly,
Mm-hmm.
dye and all that type of stuff. So that's what I really love about it. So what type of services do you guys offer
Yep.
with Chop Shop Mobile?
That was the biggest thing. Like one thing that I haven't seen a lot of is a multicultural salon that's also unisex. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted to be able to provide, because just thinking back to going to corporations or festivals or events, you don't know who's going to come on board. So
Mm-hmm.
all of the independent contractors, like the barbers, the stylists, the nail techs, the makeup artists, they need to be well versed and confident in their ability to service all different skin tones, all different hair types. That's
Love
part of
it.
the requirement to
Mm-hmm.
be on a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually found that that's a competitive advantage for us, because when we have companies, one of the biggest things they ask is like, can you guys do all types of hair? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
nervous about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah. So we look for all types of beauty professionals. We recruit all types of beauty professionals that have that background, but normally we offer services that can be completed in like an hour or less, because that's
Mm-hmm.
part of what Chop Chop is about. Is
Yes.
we're quick, we're efficient, like you're in, you're out. We want people to feel like they can get their service done during their lunch break, and then
Mm-hmm.
be back to work or back to whatever they're doing in no time.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome sauce. So, what's the biggest goal that you have for 2021?
So my biggest goal is to franchise Chop Chop. So,
Okay.
and just, it's interesting because I think minority business owners, we sometimes have I was actually just writing this in my book, like having blinders on
Mm-hmm.
and being very linear about how business should work and works.
Mm-hmm.
And we think about it within the context of what we've seen in our lives. But when you take a step back and you network with people that don't look like us, and you research other business models, you learn sometimes that, wow, some of these founders didn't take the traditional route. They did things very differently.
Yes.
They did them more efficiently and more effective. And what I've learned, it's been 5 years, but what I've seen is that, like, I don't have to own every single, truck. Cause I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to have like, 20 different trucks in different areas. I could actually just be a franchisor, and I can, offer up Chop Chop to be franchised out. And that would be less capital on my end, and actually it would bring in revenue. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to look at business a different way. And part of it is just knowing what your end game is. Like, one thing I tell a lot of people that are interested in starting a business is, what is your end game? Like, what is your exit strategy? Do you want your business to, do you want to be able to pass on your business to your kids and let them work it? Do you want to sell and use that money to start another business or to retire? Are you looking for it to be a retirement thing? Are you looking to work in your business for forever? Or do you want to be able to do something else? So when I decided, like, I want to be able to exit out of the business, but still have it running, but without me doing the day-to-day, that's when I realized, okay, my business model needs to change a little bit. Okay. And so I'm focused on franchising it out, because another thing is, a lot of beauty professionals, even the ones that I work with, they're always like, I want to own my own salon. I want to own my own barbershop. Well, you can be the owner of a Chop Chop, but you run it. You know what I'm saying? You run it. And so I'm just supplying you with the manuals, the processes, the equipment, the stuff. You buy that from me, and then you own your own.
Oh, that would be dope.
Yeah. And so that's my goal.
Oh man, now that's awesome. Well, before we head out, let the people know how they can reach you, what social medias you on, all that good stuff, what locations you might be at this year.
For sure. So on Instagram, you can hit me up at Chop Chop Mobile. Also on YouTube, we have a page, Chop Chop Mobile, Chop Chop Mobile Salon and Barber. So that has like videos of past events. And then Facebook, same thing, Chop Chop Mobile Salon and Barber. And then our website is www.chopchopmobile.com.
That's a tongue twister.
That's
right
a tongue
there.
twister.
Before we get out, go ahead.
And if you wanna contact me directly, or you're interested in like personal coaching, startup help, like I said, business plan workshops, and then I'm starting these fear workshops, because one thing that I've noticed is that you can have the desire to start something, but if you don't know how to face different fears that you have, like fear of losing money, fear of inadequacy, fear of change, fear of, just different fears that you have to learn how to be able to face and overcome in order to stay, motivated, in order to really reach your level of success that you're hoping for.
I would definitely come to something like that.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I'm starting those in probably about 2-3 weeks, but you can go to my website, it's KeishaKing.com, and find out more information on that.
I got some little fun stuff I like to do at the end.
Okay.
Ask you some questions, tell me how you feel about it. First question, Jordans or Yeezys?
Jordans.
Okay. Candace Parker coming home.
I think that's a good idea. I think she should definitely do that. I remember playing against Candace Parker back in high school, and she was dunking at that point and dunking her. I was like, "Hey, we only seniors." Yeah.
Yes.
Come home, Candace. Come home.
Come home.
Come home.
Come home. And then we just recently lost Cicely Tyson. All
Yes,
right.
but she was definitely a legend. Definitely a
Definitely
legend.
a legend. Well, I really, really appreciate it, girlie. Thanks for doing this. Much
Mm-hmm.
success. Definitely keep me updated on them seminars because I would definitely love to
For
participate.
sure.
I
For
ain't gonna hold
sure.
you up because I know you got mommy duties and it's
And
Sunday.
thank you for doing this. This is awesome. This is
Oh,
excellent.
thank you, thank you, thank you. All
Mm-hmm.
right, YouTube. I see you when I see you.